guys, and welcome back to the channel. Arsenal bottle it again. Arsenal drop more points in the Premier League title race. 2-0 up at home, and they let a lead like that go. Some questions need to be asked. But guys, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, and turn on the bell notification so you never miss one of my videos, rivals or not. But guys, look, 2-0 up at home. Aston Villa coming to the Emirates, not in the greatest of forms. Arsenal just on the back of a win in the North London derby. I think the expectation was Arsenal to go and win this game. 2-0 lead. You at home when you're at the Emirates, the fortress they call it. You have to hold the lead, unfortunately. And being 2-0 up in the game, cruising and allowing Aston Villa a route back into the game. It's just not good enough from an Arsenal perspective. And when you're trying to win league titles, when you're trying to win the major honours, you have to turn up in moments. And it's been very, very often in the last couple of years that Arsenal, in the big moments, tend to fall. And again, the pressure's on. Liverpool have just won at Brentford with 2 late goals, and Arsenal being 2-0 up concede 2 late goals. It's just how you look at football. It's just a flick of a switch. You can change that. That one team is going and getting 3 points by 2 late goals, and one is dropping 2 by conceding 2 late goals. It's just how efficient teams are with the way they play. And at this moment in time, you look at Arsenal and you look at Aston Villa as a real opportunity to set down a marker and just to go on a bit of a run, especially without no Saka. And they got off to a great start with a goal from Martinelli. And albeit Martinez really should have kept it out, and he did make a valiant effort, but Arsenal took the lead and they're in control of the match. And Villa were threatening, but Gabriel and Timber did a really, really well at centre back, and then they get the second goal with Kai Havertz. Then it's just about game management. How do you manage the game? How does Mikel Arteta just stay calm and tell his players, you know what, we've got a solid defence, albeit Saliba being unavailable through a precautionary hamstring issue. That team should be beating Aston Villa, especially when you're 2-0 up at home in front of your own supporters. Especially, when the last week you kind of were knocked out the FA Cup at home to Manchester United, then you bounce back with a win in North London derby. Then again, you go 2-0 up against Aston Villa. Your old manager's coming home after beating you, doing the double over you last season, beating you at the Emirates, and ultimately costing you the league title. It was a real opportunity for Mikel Arteta and Arsenal to cement themselves as, real title challengers to Liverpool. And now they trail the league by 6 points, having played a game extra than Liverpool, when that could have easily been 4 and could have been 1 if Liverpool didn't win their game. So it's crazy how football changes so quickly in such a quick space of time. You can go from being 1 point behind Liverpool to 6 or 7, and Arsenal find themselves 6 points behind Liverpool, and it's middle of January. And I think if I'm an Arsenal fan, I'll be very, very disappointed with that performance. Generally, being, like I said, 2-0 up, you have to, see out the lead and, see it forward. And Arsenal were unable to do so, and it puts real pressure on the manager now. I think there was already some lingerings in the fan base about they want Arteta to be sacked. I personally don't agree with it, because I think he's done an unbelievable job to, to get Arsenal into the position of challenging for the title. But it did take a while, and I think the question mark on his name is, how does he then, make that challenge into tangible success? And I think that's what Arsenal fans are looking for. They're looking for a Champions League. They're looking for a Premier League. I don't think they're too fussed about the Carabao Cup or the FA Cup. They want to win one of the big two. And the Premier League, it's been close for Arsenal. 2 points they missed out last season to Manchester City, and they went close the year before that as well. So I think this was the year that everybody thought Arsenal were going to go and, take that third step forward in the third year of challenging for the title and, picking it off Manchester City, and they were unable to do so. And that blame does go on the manager. You have to look at it for what I'll never call for a manager to be sacked, or never call a manager to lose his job, because I think that's not fair. But ultimately, although I think he's done a good job, there's stuff like this in the Arsenal team that's still there. It's still very, very clear that, like I said, in big moments, they tend to struggle. They lost 3-0 to Brighton in 22-23 back end of the season. Last season at Villa, they lost 2. Last season against Aston Villa at home, they lost 2-0, which ultimately cost them the league title. And they've already dropped points to Fulham, Brighton, albeit with 10 men. They lost to Bournemouth. They've dropped points at Newcastle. They've dropped points at home to Everton, and yet again Arsenal at home, they've dropped points to Aston Villa. And these are teams that Arsenal, no disrespect to the teams, should be beating. Saka or not, Martinelli or not, Havertz, whoever plays and doesn't play, Saliba or not, they should be in a position where if they're 2-0 up in a match, they should see it out comfortably. And I think that's why Arsenal fans were so angry, and you could hear the boos at full time. And they were basically gifted a second goal to go 2-0 up. And in that, when you're in that position, you have to stay in that position. And ultimately, they weren't able to do so. It's just about game management for me. And I think Arsenal struggled to manage games, especially when the pressure's on, because there was definitely pressure on Arsenal to get a victory, to keep the gap as it was before Liverpool played Brentford at the GTEC at 3:00 and Arsenal playing afterwards. So when your rivals in the title race, if people want to call it that, I think the title race is done, and I think today confirms it. But let's say there's a title race, and you see your rivals win with 2 late goals. That's a real knock to Arsenal. That is a real knock to your confidence, real knock to the confidence. And I link it very, very closely to when in the 21-22 season, when Aston Villa were 2-0 up at the Etihad and Liverpool were drawing 1-1 at Wolverhampton Wanderers. And then Villa conceded those 3 late goals, and you could see that had a massive psychological effect on Liverpool. And within a week later, they were beating 1-0 in the Champions League final. And although they were fairly dominant in the final, they weren't able to break Real Madrid down. And I think that was a mentality thing, because that's a very, very hard thing to deal with as a footballer, to go again and go again and go again and go again, because you lose the motivation when you don't win. And that's what it's like. If you keep going again and again and again and putting your all into everything, and ultimately at the end you get nothing out of it, there's going to be a time where you're like, why? What am I doing this for? What's the reason I'm doing this for? And we saw the precaution. We saw the negatives of that the next season when Liverpool dropped so many points and finished outside the top 4 from going from a quad to finishing 5th in the league. And I'm not saying something similar will happen with Arsenal, but when you challenge for the league 2 years in a row, and you then go into a season where the team that won it the last 2 years falls off massively, and you expect your team to go and challenge and you don't, and you lose it to a team that was behind you in the league, it's a real knock. It's a real knock to Arsenal. It's a real knock to their confidence, I think. And you can see when any sort of adversity comes in a match, they struggle to deal with it. And I don't know if that's a mentality issue. I don't know if they're missing key personnel, because like I said before in previous videos, and everybody knows the problem for Arsenal is they can't score goals. It's not that they don't concede goals, because they have the best defensive record in the Premier League, or before they played Villa. Their struggle is they need a number 9 to put the ball in the net. Because in big moments, like the Trossard chance, he might have been offside, but an Isak or even an Ollie Watkins or a Gyökeres doesn't suit Arsenal style of play, but I'm saying a 9 in that position finishes that off and Arsenal win the game. Now, that Trossard chance might have been offside right near the end, but the point stands that when you've got players of quality in positions that you are expected to score goals in, the likelihood is you're going to score. And when you have a 9 that can put the ball in the net, like an Isak at Newcastle, like a Salah at Liverpool, he's not a 9, but they've got Jota, and City have got Haaland. These are the differences when you're trying to win the big prizes, and it's why Man City win it every year, because they've got a player like Erling Haaland that scores the goals in big moments. And Liverpool, why they've won in the past is because they had 2 freaks on the wing with Salah and Mane, and now they've got Salah and he's still doing it. And that's why they are where they are, Liverpool, and Arsenal are where they are because of their attacking depth. And I'm not knocking Martinelli, I'm not knocking Trossard or Havertz or whoever plays up front for Arsenal. You get Jesus, and hopefully he returns from injury well, because I never wish that on anyone. But you could see that they have quality, but it's not the quality that's going to make Arsenal win the league. And you can see that they've missed out the last 2 years. And maybe that's not down to goal scoring, but I think in big moments, it's very, very clear that when Arsenal need somebody to just step up, they don't have that when Saka's out. They relied too much on Bukayo Saka. And in hindsight, you could say Liverpool do that with Salah. But when Salah was out injured last season, Liverpool lost 1 game, and that was to Arsenal at the Emirates. They won every other game, and they drew to City, and Salah came back in that game. So hindsight's a wonderful thing, but look, for Arsenal, it's a very, very cheap second goal to concede as well. Thomas Partey just ball watching. It's not good enough from Arsenal, and I think they need investment. And I think Arteta said it as well. Due to the injuries, they will go into the market, and I think they're going to need to. But I think it's a great result for Aston Villa. They're closing in on the top 4 as well. They go above Manchester City, albeit City play tomorrow at Ipswich, but it's a big point for the Aston Villa, and it shows character that Unai Emery can get the best out of these players. they're also quite high in the Champions League. They might have had an up and down season in the Premier League, but like I said, all you need to do is put a run together in this league, and you're going to be up there. And I was waxing lyrical about Newcastle winning 6 games in a row, and it turned the season around. They were beaten today by Bournemouth 4-1 at St James's Park. So it just shows the quality of the teams that are trying to get in the top 4. Your Villas, Brightons, Fulhams, etc., etc., etc. All these teams challenging for 2 spots basically. I think the top 3 will be confirmed, but there's like 5 or 6 teams trying to challenge for that 4th position. Chelsea, Newcastle, Manchester City, Villa, Brighton, whoever. They're all Fulham. They're all trying to get that 4th position into the Champions League. And it just goes to show that the quality of the teams below the top teams, the traditional top 6, is rising, is definitely rising. And Aston Villa are a prime example of that. They were in the Championship not too long ago, 5 years ago, 4 years ago. And now they find themselves in the Champions League, going to one of the top teams, top grounds in the country, and being unbeaten there for the last 2 years. It says a lot. It says a lot about the quality of this Premier League. But guys, get your comments in below. I really think the league done for Arsenal. I think they need to focus on the Champions League now if they really want to, win something big. Because I think the league title is gone for them, and I think Liverpool in pole position. But guys, get your comments in below. Do you guys think the league title is done for Arsenal? Because I think it is. But Arsenal drop points again. Arsenal bottle it again. Unai Emery's a thorn in Arteta's side yet again. Old foes, old enemies, same results.